Hey there, Outliers. Niiamah, Sean here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. I am in the presence right now of a conversation with Jim Hunter Celestin. And Jim, I'm excited for us to have a conversation. I don't know where the conversation is going to go, but what I do want to look at is like you've shown up as an outlier in your world. You're blazing your own trails out there, and I want to give any of the outliers here listening an opportunity to see how someone else like them is choosing to navigate this game. And how you keep like finding ways to up level yourself while walking the path that only you can walk. I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah. So Jim, let's give outliers a chance to get to know you. And why don't you share more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Well, hello everybody, and you again, welcome. Not welcome. I'm always saying welcome. That's
Yeah, 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 yeah. You used to be on the other side of this. Yeah, yeah, I get you. No, but I also
yeah,
also like just love that like the default is to be welcoming in. Like I'm
yeah,
gonna get to know you through this. I'm gonna be able to see past all that stuff. So just like
yeah,
it's cool to know. Yeah. But yeah, let us know more about you and the game you play.
yeah, for sure. Everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Jim Hunter Celestin, and I'm currently have a I'm running a podcast which is Trigology, and you can see the this is my background right here, and and that's basically how you found me. And I'm actually in the process of writing a book. And I'm not originally from the United States. I'm from Haiti. I've moved to the U.S. about 7 years ago now. Yeah, 7 years from now. And so far, everything's been good. We're sticking to the plan, and we see where God takes us.
Hey, well, let us know here. Like, so for I know you have the podcast. What do you do outside of the podcast? Is a lot of outliers are. I want to give outliers a chance to get to see like what does your world look like?
Oh yeah, for sure. Outside the podcast, man, I've been all over the place in a bit because I've been an EMT before, being an EMT, and then went from EMT to be a paramedic, and I went to be a flight EMT, the one that goes on a helicopter around and pick up from different hospitals, and now I'm in radiology, doing CAT scan and MRI.
This is cool. Like one of the things I enjoy about hanging out with different outliers is that like their journey like can always like develops, and sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's totally
It's
not.
very, yeah, totally
Yeah,
unpredictable, right?
yeah. And so like the people you're listening to, like we get that. Like I think other people be like, you just got to choose one thing and go that, but it's like we are doing our thing. It just continues to
Yeah,
evolve and look
yeah.
in different ways. So let me ask you here, like what's something that what's like a belief that you've had that's helped you to make all these transitions over the years?
Man, I think it's something that my father told me a long time ago. My father passed, and it was like he told me that you can do whatever you put your mind to it. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to limit yourself. And life is not about just getting a job and work. It's about experience. And as long as you like and love what you're doing, you can always transition and learn different things. You don't have to be stuck in one spot.
Hmm.
And whatever you do, make sure you do it right. Even if it's a service, make sure you do it like you were getting paid for it.
Nice.
So, yeah, I never forget about this. And I think that's what motivated me to explore everything that I think I like. So I have no regrets down the road. Say, hey, I should have tried that. I always give it a go.
Yeah, I think there's outliers out there that really resonate with this here. Let's talk about some of the things that you're building right now. Like I realize that like I like to talk about who you are as a person, but like I also get to know who you are by based on like what are the things that you're building and how you're choosing to do it. So tell us about something that you're creating right now that like really excites you. If you're really going for it, like because it's outliers edge, not outliers middle, right? Like tell us about something that excites you, but also like gives you sweaty palms. It's like it excites, but also like kind of scares you a bit.
Hey man, I feel it. I feel it definitely. And I mentioned it before. The thing that I'm very excited about right now is the book that I'm writing. I've never wrote a book before, but I have different mentors showing me the ways and letting it flow. And I'm a Christian, by the way, if I didn't know this. So, and I feel like there's a very big need into for people to understand the purpose and the power and how to pray. And a lot of Christians that I've realized they worship and only on a Sunday, but the prayers are always neglected. Prayer life is very neglected, so that's what is pushing me to write this book, and I'm very mad. But talking about it right now, I'm excited and yeah, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that you found an angle in there to continue to support support this angle here. How did you know when you're coming up with all the different things that you could write about a book about, like what made you say like, all right, this is a problem that's worth solving, or this is a possibility worth creating?
Well, I think it's if it's a problem worth solving, it's definitely a possibility, to create it, right? Because it kind of goes together, and I, I, I I'm pretty sure it's because I have a lot of Christian friends and non-Christian friends as well, and we talk about God a lot and their relationship with God, and I notice there's always something lacking, and this is their prayer journey, and yes, we have a personal relationship with God, and but it's not like I can only go to you when I need you. And how do I go to you when I need you? You see what I mean? How to
Mhm.
approach you? What's the state of mind? Because you have to be in a ready mode constantly to be able to open that door. Because if you're not doing the right thing, then you're not gonna be able to open the door. And I realized that was a common denominator between everybody that I spoke to. And I was reading a book, like many books actually, and I came to the conclusion that these books they were pretty good. Like they're pretty good by I don't know if you heard about Dr. Monroe, but he passed away. But yeah, these are good books, and I realized that since they are very big books, like not a lot of people gonna spend a lot of time reading like a big book just to get the main idea. And I was like, you know what? I can actually do something here in a condensed version with the main points. Like this is what we need. We don't need to spend like 3 months reading a book just to find out what we need. At least we can spend a week in it and then we get the idea, we get the message.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's cool. So I think I love talking to people who come from a place where there's a mission behind it. There's a reason behind
Yes,
it more than
yes.
just like, well, this is what people would want, you know. So let's play a little bit on this one. What would you say right now has been the hardest part of writing your own book right now?
Man, it's actually the how should I say that? The flow, the connections between chapters and how it goes, the flows, because you don't want to disconnect. You don't want your readers to be disconnected as they read. The consistency, that's the most challenging part for me, but I'm getting there.
Nice. Yeah, no, so I bring this up every once in a while, but I actually ended up authoring a book myself a few years back, and I never really went through the process of like fully releasing it. It was in like its first round of edits and things like that. But we have 200 pages, has assessments, has workflows, has like all this stuff associated with it. Um, but I never really put it out into the world, right?
Why?
I think I think there's like okay, I'm glad you asked that. One of them was like, I don't know if my identity like feels very much around like the author side of things. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it's going to change my life that much. Like I literally don't know how, Jim, to like I can't even like really imagine how I would talk about it if I did like go through the full publishing process. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd be like, yeah, I have this book. Yeah, like it's not like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't hit me like that. So I'm like, ah, it's okay, we have it, but it's not
Man,
done.
I feel like you have it. I feel like you do have it because there's a reason why. The main thing is why did I write it? Like why the initial thought of you writing it? What was the reason?
Yeah, so the reason here was because I was outside walking down the street and I got hit with this idea of creating a movement around world of difference, you know? And I was like, oh, it's all about how people use what makes them different to make their biggest difference in the world, right?
Hmm.
I found a good mentor from afar with his book writing process. It's called One Book Millions Method by Mike Shreve. And it's really around how do you continue to have a book that you can then use as basically its own lead magnet, bring people into your world, send ads and traffics to it, so on and so forth, right? So I was like, oh, this is
Mhm.
gonna be great. I can use this as the cornerstone of my business, send traffic to this book. People will read the book. I've met a lot of people who I like through it, and there's like a way to actually get the book out into the world, and
Mhm.
then build from there. So that was one of my bigger reasons. And at that time, I was very much like in the mission, but not the money, right? So I was about like the life transformations of people. Um, and and I had like this process that I was taking people through, right?
Mhm.
But what ended up happening here, and I think this is the thing for me, is like I realized as I wrote it, I'm like, yeah, all these thoughts make sense. Like I'm a thought leader, I'm putting my thought leadership into the book. This is great, you know. But when I look to it and I try to like be like, oh, let me go bring examples of why this would work, I felt like it was lacking, you know?
Okay, so yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
find that
it.
a lot too in my community. It's like some people be like, I cannot advise somebody against something I never go through, because it's lacking. I don't have the qualifications to talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's less of qualifications. Like I'm not like, oh, I need to have gone to school for it, but it's more about proof, right?
Yes, yes.
It's like I want and it's fine. Like how do I describe it? Like it's a good book. It's gonna help
Mhm.
people, so on and so forth. And I think that like I realized that like I'm like I this would have been I would have preferred to have done this as a workshop series, you know, and do the workshop series and then come back and say, oh, let me tell you about, let's say Jim, you in it. It's like let me tell you about how Jim used this process to be able to go from X to Y in
Hmm.
there. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
wrote the book in isolation, you know, and it's a good time to get out a bunch of thoughts that I had, and it made
Mhm.
sense. You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm gonna write a book every 90 days. Like I can crank this out. I'm gonna create a book creating
Oh
engine,
man.
all that. Like, yeah, when I go in, I go in. Like that's the outlier part of me. I love volume, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then I got done and I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to go out and promote this, you know, and I'm gonna be talking about this static book I wrote 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Then it's gonna be
Hmm.
10 years ago, all that stuff. And I'd rather just be in the mix with people. You know what I mean?
I mean, it can be both though. Like I've seen a lot of authors do the same thing. They sell the book. They even sell DVDs.
Mm.
You see what I mean? And they do workshops. So because there's something for everyone. Somebody likes to read. All right, I'm gonna read instead, and somebody want to be in the mix, like you want to be in the mix. Say, hey, I'm gonna be right there in the workshop and ask questions and do this. And somebody just wanna play the DVDs. I think I really think you should do it. I really think you should do it.
I appreciate that. It's not that the book is not being done and it's available. You know, when anyone joins my Outliers Edge Guild, the book is there for them. You know, like so I'm not hiding it. I'm
Yeah.
just not promoting it. If you get what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think, and I'd be curious for you here, but like to me, that distinction, like something happened for me, Jim. What ended up happening for me was this thought of like, I don't know when it came in either. It just like snuck in one day, and I just like I got inceptioned, you know. That's how I think about it. But it's like I'm like it goes almost to a bit of like what your father was saying, which is like, look, I know I can do stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like creating is not the
Yeah.
issue anymore. Like I trust myself to create. What the real thing here is like, can I sustain it?
Sustain it. Yeah.
Right? Can I improve it and grow it? Will I want to? And what will be the return on investment of doing that? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
I'll be really
Hmm.
curious for you because like you have a lot going on. You're like you have many different projects. You have the book going on here. How do you like make decisions on like what's worth doing? Because that's essentially it. I'm like I can do the book thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can have it behind me and all that stuff. Awesome. Thumbs up. Yeah, yeah, what you did it.
Yeah.
But was it worth it compared to something else? Curious how your thoughts are about that.
Well, definitely. But like in my case, it's here's the thing. A lot of creators, they we are linear products, right? We are linear human beings. So we do A, B, C, one, two, three, and some of us wanna see three. Even we think about three, even though we're in one. You
Yep.
see
Yep.
what I mean? And
Yep.
then they, yeah, and Me personally, I feel like I'm hoping for three,
Mm,
but if three doesn't come, I'm okay because at least I did what I had to do. That's my mindset.
mm.
Even though with this book that I'm writing, even though when I finally publish it, only one person purchased that book, I'll be satisfied. See what I mean?
No, I do. And this is something that's interesting to me. So I want to play a little bit here because like and Jim, this is coming from a person who spent a lot of time like in like the deeper levels of coaching. I don't even say like the deeper, but like really in like the heart space around things, right?
Hmm.
Um, and again, I also say like my outlier just loves volume, all right? And so I'll put one last thing here. It's not about scale to me either. I don't I'm not like interested in scale. I just love volume,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I guess the question in my mind is like, what happens? And I don't have an answer to this. I'm not expecting I'm
Yeah.
curious like
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
think about it. Like, what happens to our like decision of quality or like extra energy? Let's just say energy. I don't know if it's quality, but what happens to the level of energy we choose to give something when we're like, if only one, if even if just one person gets this, it would be worth it. Right. I get it from like the doing perspective, right? I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's enough to go and say, should I do it or not? And then
Yeah.
to be like, okay, it's worth doing because if I even have one person, that's great. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it's like, well, now that I'm doing it, do I just want to do it for just one person,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
like how do I want to do it? So I'm
Yeah.
curious about your thoughts on that
Yeah.
because I used to just nod ahead. I'm like, but I don't know if I believe that. I
Yeah.
don't believe that
Yeah.
as much now.
I definitely see what you're saying because I think it has to do with the expectations,
Okay.
like because the
Yeah.
bigger the expectations,
Mm.
the harder you get hit with disappointment.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Keep
See what
going.
I mean?
Yeah.
But if you lower, if you aim higher,
Hmm.
that's your aim, right? But at the same time, you're okay if you hit the middle target.
Gotcha.
So at the moment you start focusing like, okay, if I get that perfect, but if I do this, man, I'm glad I do it. That
Yeah.
and you're gonna be way happier if you realize that you passed the middle target.
Yep.
Then if your focus was only on the highest target and you realize that you didn't reach it, so your mindset is gonna automatically goes to the negative side of your achievement instead of the positive side of it.
Yep. Yep. It's like
It's
a half glass half full, glass half empty. It's like,
exactly, yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. You have to. That's my mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always believe in whatever, even though it's small, even though it's big, it has to be it's worth doing. It's worth doing. If it's worth putting out there. Uh, we were created by a creator. We are son of a creator. We are called to create. So we are all creators. We are made in this image. We have to create. We have to try find a way to make people's life better in any way possible.
Yeah. Yeah. This is interesting to me. Like when you said expectations, I felt myself be like, uh-huh. Like it's in the expectations of it.
Yes.
Like I really feel that. I really feel
Yeah.
that. And you're finding me, Jim, at an interesting time where I'm like, look, beforehand, I was all about just like my motto was why be the best when you can be the only, right? Why be the best when you can be the only? And something happened. It was around that time with the book, with the one book millions and everything, right? I had a daughter. Um, and she was my second child. And there was a chapter in that one book millions method that made me realize I'm like, oh, how can I think I know business if I didn't know this? Right? I'm like, this is so simple, but I didn't know this. And then I was like, what else don't I know? Right? And so all these things started to take place, but I realized that like as time went on, I shifted from, hey, let's go do this one time really cool thing because that would be like an outlier thing to do. Like, hey, you know what? Like once I got to, I don't know, speak on the UN floor, you know?
Mm,
And I'm like,
mm,
that's cool. Like that used to be my outlier metric, like, dang, you did that? That's awesome.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like my thing now is I'm like, it's like I think it's really cool for like, yeah, every month I go and I speak on the UN floor. I'm like, oh, you do that every month? You're able to sustain that? You're good enough to make that keep happening? Like
Yeah.
that's interesting. How did you do that? So I'm curious your thoughts on this here because it's it's the expectation, but I think there's also something in there went to, I won't say it's not about best for me, but it's like excellence,
Yeah.
like excellence sustainability. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a bit of a kind of not a excellence kind of guy, but more of a perfectionist.
Ah, got you. So you
Yeah.
like even better than excellent. You want perfect. Am I getting that right?
But here's the thing, I'm very conscious of it and I don't let it hold me back because my wife calls me out all the time on it, and I'm very glad she does because this can hold you back a lot because you're always gonna find something that you need to work on before you become the next great one. You see what I mean? But what we fall short of realization is that the best one that we look for, that we look up to, they started not being the best. You see what I mean? They didn't wait until they're the best to start. Eventually, they become the best, and then now we can look up to them. And I think that's what we need to do as well. We need to accept ourselves where we are right now and as what we can do and make the best out of it in the moment.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it's. I think that's part of why like the best doesn't really resonate with me. You know, I'm like I don't need to be the best. I can still be the only, but like I'm also gonna be. You know what it is, Jim? I'll get your thoughts on this here. By the way, I'm enjoying this conversation. I haven't actually taken my podcast conversations like this before, or at least like
Mm.
not often. Like usually I'm a little bit more. I'm like, oh, we moved to conversation and it feels good.
Yes,
Like
yes,
less
yes.
less
It's less
interview, more
dialogue. Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like let's just do this. So like what comes to me as you say that I lost my specific train of thought on it. But there's this I think there's a component in my mind of okay, hear me out. Like, why be the only? Why be the best when you can be the only? I still believe
Mm-hmm.
that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
another part of me is like, and what if like you were like even though you're the only, you were also still the best? Like how ridiculous is that? Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. It is interesting. But here's the thing, though. I believe that there's one of the two that you already have
Mm,
because you are already the only.
mm,
See what I mean?
mm-hmm.
You there's no two. There's no two you. There's you. You're all already the only. But now the only thing you're gonna have to work on now is the next one, which is being the best. And being the best, here's the thing that I realized too. The moment that you put yourself in competition with others, it's very it can be very overwhelming because there's a lot of people that you're gonna have to put yourself in competition with because there's a lot of people that's already there where you're not yet and where you want to be at, that you have to say, all right, I want to be like this guy, I want to be better than this, I want to do this better than this person, and you're gonna put your personal touch into it because this is your personality, what makes you different, that's you. And and um oh, I kind of lost my train of thought as well, but once you do that once you do that, you are going to be the best in what you do according to yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
I'll tell you what I'm picking up from that, right? And let's play this out. I actually like having my spaces be a place where like new thoughts are coming together, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm trying to get out of the polished sound. I'm like I don't need sound bites, Like I want to know
Yeah,
what's real. Like this is where outliers are. Like we're trying to figure out things. We're
yeah,
not like we don't get to live in like the everything's perfect world, or like
yeah.
everything's already set out for us. Like we got to figure this out. So part of what I heard, or at least part of what I was what was coming up for me when you were saying it was like, okay, and it's helpful for me because it lets me think about how I want to calibrate. But it's like let's go off with like an underlying truth. We are already the only, right? There's no one else on this planet like
Yeah,
us, right? And
yeah,
there never will be. Someone said
yeah.
to
That's
me,
a fact.
yeah, someone said to me, she said, you are once in an eternity existence, you
Yep.
know? And I was like, like when you put it that way, you're at like it's just truth. It's like that is what it is. It's just true. Right.
Hmm.
So there's that. And then like the element of the best, and it's it's odd because like I realized as you were talking, like I have like no emotional charge toward best, like in competition, like I'm just not interested, right? But like I still use the word because it was good like rhetoric, right? But like it brings something. But I think there's an element here of like, well, why don't you come? What is it like to become better at being the only you? You know, if I'm being real, I think that like I know that's like at the core of why I do Outliers Edge, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, look, you're an outlier, you're outside of the norm, right? We've gotten this level of success, and my question is like, what's at the like we're at the edge of what that success looked like. Like, if we're already an outlier, why can't we just do 10 times that success? We're still going to be an outlier, like compared to everyone else, we're still going to be way out there. So why are we only way up, like just a little bit way out there? Like, what if we went all in on being out there? And I think that's like I translate that now in the sense of like, look, we're still one and only, we're still an outlier, you know? But like, how can you be the best outlier you can be for you? How can you be the best you out there in association with it? Jim, does that
Yeah.
like curious what you think about it? I hear myself say it. It sounds like I'm saying it in one dimension, but I think about it in like three,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes, yes, definitely. And I really do I really do believe that it should be it should be the way to be the like you said, the best is on a personal level is gonna be making sure you're doing better than what you were. You have to be in competition with yourself. Like, okay, I was at one yesterday. What can I do today to put me in two? So you see what I mean?
Yep.
And what can I do to and the day next day after and the next day after so you can move forward and not being static.
Yeah.
And because a lot of us, when once we get a little comfortable, we get complacent. We like, yeah, I can chill right here, but we have to keep moving. And what is it that I can do to improve myself from my former self, if that makes sense? And I believe that's the secret recipe to be an excellence or for your better self. Yeah.
So I love that you talked about like when we get comfortable, we can get complacent about it. How do you keep yourself like from getting comfortable? What's something you're doing right now that is putting you into like that uncomfortable world? Actually, no. Before we get to what's something you're doing right now, I'm actually really curious about what's the catalyst that you use to keep yourself from getting comfortable, or when you see yourself like, oh crap, I got comfortable. Like, what do you use to be like, oop, gotta get uncomfortable again? What's that for you?
Yeah. And the main thing I can say that I use, or not use, but is I I got to be very aware of myself. You know yourself better than anybody else. All right. So when I get to this moment, sometimes I feel like, hey, that's it, I'm good. But when I get to that point, I try to remember what's the reason that I started. See, what was the emotion behind it that I when I started because something made me start. So I try not to forget that part. And whenever I think about it, I'm like, okay, so I gotta keep going. Even though sometimes we keep going not feeling like that we should, or I don't feel it. Sometimes we don't feel it. It's like going to the gym, you wanna get buff, and some days you just don't feel like lifting weights, but you go anyway. You go anyway, and once you put yourself at it, and you don't even know it, then the vibe comes up, and then you're doing your thing. It's probably gonna be the best day. Man, I'm so glad I went to the gym that day, and that's the same thing. Every time I feel like that I'm too comfortable or lazy to keep going. I'm like, you know what's going on? I stop, pause, put myself in a third person, and get outside of myself and analyze everything. So, okay, this is what's going on, Jim. This is what's going on, and you said you were gonna be doing this. And hey, you got to hold yourself accountable here, bro. Hold yourself accountable. Because nobody's gonna do it for you. If you cannot respect your own word, how you expect people to believe what you're saying? So I'm like, oh yes, yeah, okay. I have to live by example. I have to lead by example. So I hold myself accountable a lot. And one of the things is making the process more easy for me. So if I had to do something and I had 15 steps before I get to the point of doing what I need to do. Now I try to condense everything like smaller steps so I can get to it faster. So I have no excuse in, man. It's gonna take me a while to do this or taking a lot of energy. For example, if I need to set up for my podcast, I'm like, man, I gotta put lights up. I gotta connect this computer right there, break this camera. I gotta put this mic in. When I'm done, I gotta put everything away. It's a hustle, you know? And I'm like, okay, so what can I do to make the process easier? That way, it's not gonna stop me from creating what I need to create. Because somebody out there needs what you're doing. Somebody out there needs to hear you. So you don't need to stop yourself. So what I did is, let me see if I can show you because I have an example. Because
I can see you're like, no, I'm literally like, this is literally what's happening right now.
this is
Like,
exactly what's
yeah,
going on. Because I work a lot and I work overnights and like I literally put alarm on my phone to wake up 1 hour so I can come and have this conversation with you because I work
yeah,
night shift,
okay, yeah,
and I believe in making it happen.
yeah.
And so,
Thank you for living that. Go ahead, go ahead. Bring in what you want. Go ahead. Yeah, and
yeah.
if you're listening, Jim just pulling himself over to the side. He's grabbing something out here. We don't know what it is, so it's a little bit like a little mystery that's coming up here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
But
show you my whole studio right here.
yeah,
Let me back up a little bit.
okay.
So this is my whole,
Ah,
this is the whole studio that I have on here.
interesting. So it's like
Yeah.
if yeah, so it's like it's he has a I'll kind of describe it visually for anyone that is
Yeah.
listening to this, but it's like so Jim just pulled out what would it call like
Like
a,
a rig, a camera
yeah,
rig.
a camera rig. Yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
On it, it has his light, which is attached to, and he has a microphone on it. And
Yeah.
on top of the microphone, he has the camera, and it's just like all on like its own, like the rigging is all together, right? And so you're just like, all right, if I'm getting you right, you're like, hey, it was taking me too much time to try and figure out each of these things individually. So I just set up this rig so that now I
Yeah.
can just come in and just be like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let me pick up the rig. Let me get the rig set up, and then we just run.
That's it. That's it. All I have to do is the only effort I need to put in is writing my script and making sure I get the point the message across.
Yeah.
Because I have my everything on this right here.
All in one, like
Yeah.
literally all in
All
one
in
right there.
I can
Yeah.
move and it's battery powered and everything. I don't need no cord to connect anything. No, I just turn on and sit and say what I gotta say. Say what I
Yeah.
gotta say.
I love this here. So Outlier. So now I'm going to bring this in here for you. I want you to like whether you saw this or not. Like I want you to think about the concept of what I'm hearing from Jim here, right? Because what I feel like Jim, what I'm hearing from you is like one, you do what it takes to be able to create what it is. Like you're like, all right, I'm waking up early. I'm setting up an alarm. Whatever it is, I'm going to make that happen, right? And I think Outliers like we get that. We really respect that, right?
Hmm.
And I want to thank you. Thank you for doing what it takes here to come in because I bring people on and there's it's very easy, especially with the medium of a podcast, for someone to give themselves an out. Very easy, right? But you did it. So I want to acknowledge that. The second thing here is that now you brought in your rig, and I like this. I like this is part of like to me part of your outlier edge, right? Where instead of be like you recognize, if I'm getting it right, you recognize that like, hey, I have to do all these things each time, and because of all those steps, it's going to make it less likely for me to go get what I want to get done, right? Or even like say, like, do I even want to get out, do a podcast? Do I even want to do any of these things here? So let me set up your own version of a studio with it. And your studio is a mobile studio. You're like,
Oh
I got
yeah.
the rig, you know? And so I love that there because, some things here are like, one, you found your out of the box solution to just make it work. You're like, what do I need? I need lighting, I need cameras, I need a microphone, I need a way to get it wherever I need to go, and I need to be able to do it in a moment's notice. Great. A battery powered light, like all those things all in one
Yep.
stick that you just
Yep.
can carry with you, right?
Yep.
I love that, and I think I like, and Alex, I'm calling you in to think about this for yourself. One, you built the solution that you needed to build for the problem that you had, right? And I wanted to like see like Alex, if there's a thing out there that you're waiting to either find like what's the perfect way or whatever, remember why you're an outlier. The path has never really been set for you.
Oh
You've
no.
always been doing this kind of thing. You're gonna have your own rig, whatever it is. People may not know you have a rig. They may not know what it looks like on the back
No,
end, but
no.
it's getting done and getting done consistently, right? So I just want you to think about that a little bit for you. And Jim, I want to get some more thoughts on you, but before I do, like outlets, when you think about it for yourself, what's your equivalent? What's the infrastructure? What's the thing that you can build that allows you to show up in the way that you want to show up? You know, Jim, want to get your thoughts on that. I have some more to say on this, but I want to bring you in. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's this is just this rig right here just a reflection or just a miniature version of whatever you guys out there can do. Because once you realize the problem, and the main thing too, the most important thing is the honesty with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be open and say, all right, this is the problem, or this is my problem. See what I mean? Because a lot of us we very in denial. We know we got that problem. We still hiding. Say, all right, yeah, it's not a problem. You know, I can go through it. I can deal with it. But if it's a problem, if it's a hindrance for you to create or to put your better self out to be better than yourself than you were yesterday, you have to be honest about it. And I'm telling you, if there's a problem, there's a solution. They go together. If there is a problem, there is a solution. You just gotta open your mindset and find out what is it that I should do to to as a solution to that problem, because you can do it. If I can do this thing right here and I work and I work overnight, and because you have to remember why you started. Why are you doing what you're doing? Or even if you didn't start yet, why do you want to start? And if you and one thing I always remember too is if you if you stop along the way, you never had the strength to begin with. So I really do believe that.
Now, Jim, I'm over here like sucking my teeth. I'm like, Jim, why you got to go say it like that, right? But
I'm sorry.
no, 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 no.
That's the triggerology mindset. I don't. It's not my fault. If you get triggered on, I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear.
That's how I love it. I love it. I think
Yeah.
that it actually kind of that last sentence. So I want to speak a little bit about this because there's something that's
Uh huh.
happening for me
Uh
that I
huh.
think I need to bring in, and then we'll start wrapping up the conversation. It's been a good one so far. Um, so that last statement there, right? Like I think that goes back to something I said earlier, which is oh, I'm now trying like it's not just can I do it, it's can I sustain it? Like,
Yeah.
is it worth right? And now it gets to that thing, that component, right? It's like, oh, I guess I need to build my strength so that I can sustain it. I can do
Mm.
anything one time. It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of the TV show The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, from Netflix, right? And she's just cranking the wheel 10 seconds at a time, but like I can get like it's like the one-time pain versus like the ongoing elements. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there's this
Mm-hmm.
component that at least for me with where I'm playing with outliers nowadays, it's like, how do we keep this going? Because it's not even like we could do one thing and say, I want to jump 10 times higher, or we can do it so it's like I'm just gonna keep or I want to move 10 times like further. And it's like, or hear me out. Like, what if you never had to stop moving? Like you're gonna get to that 10
So
times,
that
and
was
then
gonna be
you'll
my
just get
point.
then you get
Yep.
11 and 12 and you gotta keep getting, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. Yes. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a race. A lot of people we got the race mindset. I mean, I got to do it as fast as possible. My bad. I just knocked my mic over. A lot of us we got to make it quick, especially if we very high energy people. Yeah, we want to make it happen as soon as possible. Like we're in the mood, bam, bam, and what's gonna happen is when it doesn't happen for us like that, like the way we want we get discouraged, in a way, and we be like, man, this is not what I wanted. It's gonna be taking forever. But here's the thing, like you said, if you don't stop moving, the time passes anyway. See what I mean? The time passes anyway, whether you do something with it or not. Time passes anyway. That's the only thing that keeps moving. Well, take time as your mentor, because it's gonna keep doing what it's supposed to do. The same should go for you. Instead of trying to do instead of trying to do like something that was gonna take you 3 months, you wanna do it in one day. Like time goes day by day, minute by minute, second after seconds. That's how it goes. So you have to find out what is your second, what is your minute, and once you do many seconds, gonna equal to 1 minute. Like small realization. Small realization is gonna come to greater accomplishment than if you're trying to do something real big and then you fall on your face because you don't have the it's like when you take a energy drink. You got the hype real quick, and then once it go away, you feel so dry, you know?
And I think that like for me, like I think there's something about, especially for outliers, sometimes we'll go for the big thing, right? And we hit it. You know what I'm saying? It's like we'll get there. I want to go speak on the UN floor. We'll make it happen, right? My question is, okay,
How
like
to stay?
how
How
do we how do
yeah?
you
How do we
how
keep
do you keep
going?
getting that invite? How do you like
Yeah,
how does that
yeah.
how do you do that? Because it's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe yeah, it's my view of outliers. Like there's nothing that we set our mind to that we cannot accomplish,
Mm-hmm.
right? The question is, like, are we creating like, I'm gonna use infrastructure, like the systems, like are we creating the opportunities for us to keep doing it? And it's super cool if you did it one time. It's like it's a game changer if you can do it every time, you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah. Cause yeah, I didn't want to
Please
cut you
go,
off.
go, go, Jim, go.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Because I feel like there's two types of realization or creation. There's the linear one, the one that goes from A to B, and there's the cycle one, the one that keep repeats itself. You know, the one that the from A to B is like writing a book. You just write the book, you publish it, you're done. That's one thing. And then you write another book. That's a different line. That's not You're not continuing on the same line. Yes, you got the same author line, but it's a different creation. And the UN flow that like you're talking about, that's the circle. That's the cycle one, the one that you have to go around and come right back at it. Now, how do I keep it going?
Yeah,
How do I keep the
yeah,
momentum to keep it going? And I
yeah,
and I, I do believe is if you have what it takes to get there the first time, you still got what it takes, and even more now that you have the experiences under your belt to keep it going. And you got to stay relevant. You got to stay relevant, up to date to what's going on.
yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
is this is cool, man. Jim, I've had a fun time talking about this here. You're hearing, like, you're talking through some of the things that I'm working through right now, and I realize that, like, some part of me is like, I think I just have to stay present and know that, like, what I mean by that is, like, rather than trying to be a guru or an expert on anything, what I can do is be like, look, I am the best at the life that I'm living. And like, so let me be a guru on that and be real about like the process here, right? When I
Yeah,
saw
that's
your
wisdom.
that,
That's
thank you.
wisdom.
That's a game. And that's why I want this game to be played. You know what I mean? Like that we don't have to posture. We can always, like, we all have something to contribute if we're just like being real about it, right?
Hmm.
When I saw your rig, it actually, like, I've been spending actually a couple months here now, and it's bothering me how long it's taken, right? But I spent a couple months here reconfiguring the underlying systems that I use for my outliers, right? So I'm helping people a lot right now with their business and with their business systems, so that they can consistently get clients and then they can consistently deliver. Because my thing is, like, your impact, the uniqueness of you, like that part is there. Like, that the heart's there. The impact you want to make is there.
Hmm.
I actually
Hmm.
don't have to like work too much on that impact part. But like, and I know you can do it once for sure, but like, two things happen. One, we get like overwhelmed with having to do it the one time, and then we're like afterwards, like, that wasn't worth it. Like, or like, oh, if I have to do this again, like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much. Like, it's like we could do it the once, but like if we have to do it again, that's the thing. And then the other thing becomes like, it's like less reliable, right? And so we're like, should we do it or not? And so I want to thank you for the rig because to your point about the marathon versus the race, like, I'm like, oh, I thought this was gonna be like a 2 week thing. I'm in like week 6 of doing this, and I'm not even sure if I'm even 50% done because I'm gonna
Mm,
finish this first part that I thought was gonna
mm,
be quick, and then I don't even know if it's gonna work yet. I have to
yeah.
continue
Yeah.
configuring, all right? But the same way that, like, that rig was really important for me. Like the way that you're like, look, it's battery powered. It has the camera. It has the microphone. It has all, like, I had to figure out how do I get them all on a one rig at the same time, all that, right? You have to
Yep.
figure that whole thing out. But now that you got it, anytime you want to record, it's at your disposal, right? And
Yep.
so I just want to just thank you for that, Jim, because it was a physical representation of this. Like I'm working on online with my stuff, right? So it
Yeah,
was a
I'm glad.
physical representation of that, and I will conjure up the image of that rig in my mind when I'm like, gosh, it's a lot more work than I wanted to be right now. But the payoff of this will be so much. Like, how awesome will it be when my clients come in under an hour, they got everything that just took me 10 years to build, like to me, that's pretty cool. Like
Oh
that's an
yeah.
outlier
Oh
kind of
yeah.
that's my next level of outlierness. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I've done the I can help you. I've done that part. But like, dude, like what if like every person that worked with us was just like
Yep.
making things happen within hours of us like starting off like that to me is like I think that's cool. I think that's cool. All right, Jim, man. Like we're gonna wrap up for today. The way I like to wrap up here is let's give outliers a chance to know how they can continue down the journey with you, right? So like if you don't mind sharing with them, what's the best way for them to continue with you? And then also from there, please let them know what your biggest insight was from today's conversation. So the insight part here, the way I look at that is like um they've gotten what they're going to get from this conversation for themselves, right? This is about like every conversation I have like should be a life-changing conversation in some way, shape, or form, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm curious what you are taking away from this. How did this benefit you in any way? And if you're like, I'm not taking anything away from it, totally fine. Just say that. You know what I'm saying? But let us know how we can continue down the journey with you, and then what's an insight you got.
Oh yeah, most definitely, and I'm very pleased. I mean, I very enjoyed the conversation. Very nice, and I'm very glad that the rig kind of materialized,
Hmm. Hmm.
and, you know, as a representation of what you needed. I'm very glad that's God working. That's not me, and yeah, I've learned some stuff that I've learned is we kind of have the same mindset when it comes to doing things, and I realize that I'm not the only one. I just realized that I'm not the only one with this type of mindset that we got to make things and the consistency and how do we keep it going. And it's all of us, as you guys can hear or see right now. It's all of us, and all you have to do is be true to yourself. You have to be true to yourself. Acknowledge your problem and be accountable. Be a man of your word or a lady of your word. Because if you cannot respect, if you don't hold your own word, nobody, what's the point of somebody else to believe what you're saying or to trust in you? So that's what I have to say about that. And I was very pleased with this conversation, man. It was very enlightening.
I feel the same way. I was like, oh, huh. Didn't think it was going to go this way. And literally at some point, I'm like, just do more of this, Niiamah. Like, like this feels like a great use of like time, energy, and like
Oh yes,
I
oh
get to like
yes.
actually make my peers here. You know what I'm saying? Versus
Yeah,
like there's something about the interview
yeah.
format where I'm just like, I think everyone's just over here. I'm asking the same questions and people are giving the same answers, and it's like
Yeah,
we're missing something.
robotic. Yeah,
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 we're
yeah,
missing
yeah.
like
Not
this is just
organic.
yeah, now people get a chance to see you, right? They get a
Yeah,
chance
yeah,
to like for real, for
definitely.
real. So Jim, do me a favor, let people know like if they wanted to reach out to you, if they wanted to work with you, if they wanted to like, follow you or listen to anything you're up to, what's the best ways to do that? Keep it kind of brief. Just like give us
Oh
like
yeah,
one or two ways to do
definitely.
it.
Definitely. You just type Triggerlogy on Google. Triggerlogy is like Triggerlogy. And if you want to put podcast behind it, make it easier for you to find. Or you're doing Triggerlogy8 at gmail.com. That's the only two ways you can reach out to me if you want to say something. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jim, I appreciate you making the time for this and for like, just bringing up this brand new way of conversation, right? But I enjoyed creating with you here today. Thanks for playing the way that you do, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, yo, thank you for having me. Me too, man. I
Yeah.
wish you all the best.
All right, outliers. Until the next time we talk, remember to be you on purpose. Journey on.